Hey there, everyone, and welcome to the next installment of my videos. These are private member videos. For those of you that might be interested in people from history or things that happen that are a bit unusual or details that one may go into that might be a little bit too sensitive for public YouTube. So today, I mean, my goodness, there is a lot going on in the world, and so I'll just kind of prefix that. Tomorrow, I'll be bringing forward my normal Wednesday live to tomorrow, Tuesday, because today is Monday, the 16th of August, 2021. Because of course there is so much going on in the world, so I'll be doing a deep dive on Joe Biden's chart, some of those things, and also as well Cy Vance, as we know, who is involved in the prosecution, etc. You know, dealing with stuff in New York with Duck LaRange, yeah, which is also very important. But today's video, and I just thought, wouldn't it be interesting? Because as you know, I've covered some villains, yeah, some villains. Of the world, so to speak. You can see the playlists, you can see who I'm referring to. Let me just dip the camera a little bit. And but today I want to deal with someone who is a very, very significant figure in American history, in a way, in American film history. And this is a woman, very beautiful, as all would agree, and I'll drop in a picture as well at some point. But this little video today is about Grace Kelly. Yeah, the gorgeous Grace Kelly, who we all know was a successful, highly successful Hollywood actress who really came to prominence in the 1950s. She was, I think it was Rearview Mirror or something like that, for no, I'm just plucking things off the top of my head, but she's been in Alfred Hitchcock movies, and she won an Oscar for her role in Country Girl, yeah? And of course, famously, Grace Kelly became Her Serene Highness the Princess of Monaco, yeah? She met and married a prince and became royal. And of course she was called Grace, and many I've seen some documentaries on Grace Kelly, and one of the things that they say is remarkable is that really she was like she was born a princess. She just had the poise. So I just thought, in a change of tone, in a change of direction of some of the videos, we want to focus on someone who is universally accepted as someone that was not only beautiful, but very, very good. Yeah, she was a very good person, and there are certain yogas in her chart that actually show that. So as usual, here is the chart. Now what I'll be doing, I will be scanning this chart, and then I'll be uploading it for the members as well. So for those of you that are looking at charts, looking at things, you can just see how certain phenomena plays out. So here is the chart of Grace Kelly. So as we know, this is the D1 here, and this is the D9. The D1 is where the planets were at the time of birth, and they show the overall blueprint of life, very much like the soul contract, where in fact both do. And then here the D9 is referred to as the chart of marriage. Yeah, this is if we were to take each of these 9 houses, each of these 12 houses, but divide them into 9 slices, that will give you the D9. The D9 is the Dharma, what the life ultimately culminates to. If this is the tree, then the D9 is the fruit of the tree. So when we look at things like that, that can give us insights. Now, all of you know just how important and how powerful the first house is. Actually, normally I would have my sheet thing with me, but you've seen it in a lot of videos, and I will just repeat anyway. And I hope you're enjoying the background because here you can actually see my atlas here. And on it, I have a colored pin for each one of my clients all over the world. Yeah, all over the world. So I'm glad to say it is absolutely covered in pins, yeah, which circumnavigate the globe. So, you know, that's wonderful. So I just want to say a thank you to everyone who supports the channel, who has become a member, and who, of course, has had consultations with me as well. Many of you would fit all three categories. And so let's proceed. So this one, we know as well, of course, that there was tragedy at the end of this story, unfortunately, and we'll focus that as well. So what we're going to look at, the broad overview of Grace Kelly's chart, and then we're going to look at the her Mahadasha sequence and how Mahadasha sequences are so important to the timing of what happens in life, the dignity of planets, and where they are. So let me just have a quick little slurp here. Yum, yum. Okay, so if we look here, we know the first house is incredibly important. Yeah, so look, if we look here, this is Grace Kelly's first house. So just to start off with, Grace Kelly was born on the 12th of November 1929, from the sources that I could find, at 5:31 a.m. Yeah, 5:31 a.m. And she was born in Philadelphia. So she was originally a Philly girl. And as we know, the first house is very, very important. Very important indeed. Because the first house is what? The body. Yeah, the first house is the body, you know, the life path, how we make our way through life. So if we look here, Grace Kelly is a Libra ascendant. Yeah, Libra ascendant. She's also a double Libra. Look, she's got the sun in Libra. In many ways, you could say this is technically debilitated, but it's not quite, because the sun is technically debilitated in the first 10 degrees of Libra, and her sun is at 26 degrees 41 minutes, so well out of that portion. It can show as well that the father was actually very useful and productive in one's life, and that, I think, really was the case with Grace Kelly. And her moon sign, if you look here, her moon sign is here, and it's in the sign of Aquarius, but it's in the 5th house, which deals with what? Creativity. Yeah, so we know we're dealing with a very creative person here. But this moon is isolated, so that is Kema Drama moon. Yeah, very common, but it can affect the chart and how life plays out. So if we look here, she has a stellium in her first house. Look, she's got 1, 2, 3, 4 planets in her first house, in her body. Yeah, so that is remarkable. As we know, any planet that's in the first house has a huge say over the life. And here she has got Venus, she's got Mercury, she's got Ketu, and she's got the sun. Yeah, wow. The Mercury here is combust, and Mars in her next house, in the 2nd house, is also combust the sun. Remember, the sun is a malefic. Yeah, so when planets get too close to him, he burns them out a bit. He can weaken that planet or what it represents. But what we need to understand is that certain planets get something which is called directional strength. And Mercury, along with Jupiter, actually, but Mercury in particular, gets strength when he's in the 1st house. Why? Because the 1st house, of course, as you know already, represents the top of the head, but it actually deals with the mind as well. Yeah, because it's the top of the head, is what comes through. And this is why when you look at the 1st house, it's not just the body, you're actually looking at that person's brain. Yeah, the mechanisms of that person's brain. So when you see planets that are not only in the 1st house, but they're in good dignity in the 1st house, you know that the person is very intelligent. So if we look here, Grace Kelly has got Mercury and Venus together in the 1st house. Now remember, Mercury and Venus are never too far away from the sun because they have very close orbits. And this is why this Mercury here is combust. Yeah. And they say when Mercury's combust, it can actually, because he's a career planet, it can actually make a person slightly obsessive about their career. Yeah, So if you think about it, Grace Kelly, like especially with all the documentaries that I saw, she took her career very seriously, very seriously. She took her career very seriously. She was very, very diligent, hard-working, and disciplined in her career. Now, if we look here, there's a little clue about that. Not even a little clue, a big one. So if we go 1, 2, 3, look, we see here she's got Saturn, yeah, balloon popper, Shani, in the third house. The third house is what? Creative and entrepreneurial people. It's the house of desires, and it's people with skills, and it's entertainers of all kinds. Saturn, of course, is a taskmaster, yeah, makes people work hard. He actually does very well in the third house. You want cruel planets in cruel houses, yeah? Now, why would you say the third house is cruel? Because third house deals with competition. Also deals with siblings. Who are the first people we compete with in life? If we got siblings, it's your siblings, yeah? Those are the first people you fight with, yeah? So the third house is about our energy, our passion, our courage as well. So here you can see Grace was cautious, yeah? She was cautious but diligent in her career. And what it does is it can make, because it can deal with learned skills, it can mean a person can take longer to learn certain things. However, what they learn very well. Yeah, very well. You need to remember that. So what happens is and it doesn't mean a person's stupid, not at all. Actually, Saturn is actually quite an intelligent and calculative planet. What it just means is it means they won't necessarily just grasp everything immediately and just run off and do whatnot. Yeah, they just work a little bit harder. And what does that do? It leads to what? Great results. Yeah, Saturn is the planet of greatness. So what Grace Kelly did, when I looked at the documentary and stuff, she just worked very hard on her acting. She made sure she got enough sleep, rest, was very disciplined with her diet, yeah, and food and all of that kind of stuff. Very good with that. And she learnt her craft from the roots up. So by the time, even though she was still a young woman, when her career started to take off, she was already a veteran by that point. She'd already done quite a lot of film work and live television, which is one of the best disciplines of all. You know, YouTube is live. Yeah, you would have seen in many of our videos, many of the people that you watch on YouTube, many times there are technical problems. Yeah, stuff just happens and you need to be able to adapt and just kind of roll with it. And she was in this, can't remember how long it was for, but she was in a TV series, and a lot of the time back then TV was live. Can you imagine broadcasting live, and you had to know your scripts and all that kind of stuff and then just kind of do it? But they noticed, they really appreciated her skills, and she worked on a lot of her acting skills in that show, because the thing is, Saturn is a cold, dry planet, and sometimes she was seen as maybe kind of lacking passion, which wasn't true. Of course, she worked on that, showing that, you know, you don't win an Oscar unless you're good. But isn't it interesting, because Saturn is a cold, dry planet, so she worked on that. Yeah, she was like, I come across a bit stiff. Yeah, Saturn, rigid, cold. I need to kind of warm up a bit, build up my passion. Saturn, the third house is a very passionate house, so she did that. If we look at the second house, yeah, which is the house of, you know, childhood, the family, growing up, you will notice there that Mars is there in its own sign, which is very powerful. So it shows also as well that she had a natural intuition. Her Mars was combust, yeah, so it was weak and slightly, but Mars is in its own sign. So even a planet, pardon me, that is combust but is in its own sign is going to do well, and it's aspected by Jupiter in her 8th house, which we'll talk about later. But the thing that's most important to know is that she came from a sporty family. Her father was very athletic. Yeah, he was a sports person and an entrepreneur, and he did work with his hands. And in fact, he was actually barred. When I do my research, he was barred from competing in the Olympics one year because he was not considered a gentleman because he worked with his hands. How unfair. Yeah, how unfair. I mean, if you see in the documentary, you know, her dad was a strapping guy, very strong. So we can see here as well that Mars is what? Passion, energy, yeah? Can also deal with the physical vitality. Also shows that the siblings were strong as well. So, you know, her siblings were, they were just a healthy family from all accounts, from what I can recall. So if we go back to the first house, so she's got 4 planets in the first house. Now, one of the planets I didn't talk about here was Ketu. Yeah, there's Ketu. Now, what Ketu does whenever he's in the first house, he creates shyness. Yeah. Grace Kelly was famed for her reserve, yeah, this slight aloofness, yeah. And this is one of the things that fascinated it, because you know Alfred Hitchcock was into his what? Ice blondes, yeah, his ice queens, yeah. He loved the idea, or not love, fascinated by the idea of these cool, tall blondes that seemed unflappable but were burning underneath, yeah, and bringing this out, yeah. Alfred Hitchcock, famous for this. And so we see here, but we also have the sun. So what it does is it's kind of, the sun is already in Libra anyway. So and particularly here with Ketu, even though she's got the sun in the first house, Mercury in the first house, Venus in the first house. Yeah, remember Venus also as well gives what? Beauty, planet of beauty. And you would have seen in my videos when I said Venus in the first house or the second house can give a person a lot of beauty, yeah, physical attractiveness. And it was quite interesting because I still love talking about this, because I did mention that Ivanka, has got Venus in the first house, and everyone was like, she's had plastic surgery and blah, blah, blah. Either way, it's not really the point. When you've got Venus in the first house, you will always try to present yourself well. Venus is the planet of presentation. You know, even Vladimir Putin has got this. You see, he's had a bit of work done. Yeah, a bit of lifty, at the corners. I'm not sure how successful it is, but the whole point is that when you've got Venus in the first house, you will always want to put your best foot forward. But what is so interesting here, that Mercury is giving some modesty. So even though Grace Kelly was stunning, yeah, and I'm just going to make sure I'll drop in the picture here. Absolutely stunning, yeah. No surgery, as far as most people are aware. That surgery did happen in the 50s and stuff, with Marilyn Monroe. They gave her a chin implant, yeah, to balance out her face, a bit more. Of course, she was always gorgeous, but they just needed to square off her chin. But you can see with Grace, she's got great bone structure. And this is something the sun can do when it's in the first house. You need to, what's worth knowing is the sun as a shape is a square, yeah? And the sun, when the sun is in the first house, because the sun is radiant and beautiful in of itself, no one doubts this. We all know the moon is beautiful and so is the sun. Yeah, they're gorgeous. So when they're in the first house, they give an extra dose of something, of beauty. So here she's got 2 beautiful planets in the first house, and Mercury is a benefic, who's Digbala in the first house. So what it does is the sun is it gives a very strong body, but very even. Yeah, sometimes you just see those people and what you would say is they're just well put together. Yeah, Venus would do that in the first house anyway, because it would beautify the body. But the sun is given that structure, and if you look, at the picture, which I'll have floating intermittently of Grace Kelly, you will see what great bone structure she has. A lot of that structure is from the sun. Yeah, the sun gives structure. When he's in the first house, you're virtually guaranteed to have a symmetrical, even body when the sun is in the first house. Lucky for those people. But the Ketu there creates a shyness, yeah, a reserve. So in many ways, there's a lot of her that is extrovert, yeah, because she does have 4 planets there after all. But Ketu creates a shyness. So what it does is it creates a modesty, a demureness. And I think one of the many things that people loved about Grace Kelly was for all of her beauty. You know, she was basically taught she just could have been a supermodel any day of the week, any day of the week. She was modest, yeah? She was never known for being what? A diva. Imagine a person with that much talent and that many advantages who ended up marrying a prince, yeah? But she wasn't a diva. She just took on her role and she did it. So let's remember also as well, the moon, like I said, is in the 5th house. The 5th house is creativity. Yeah, creativity is very, very creative house. It's in the sign of Aquarius, which is versatility, adaptable, and future oriented. Yeah. So it could mean as well that she had flashes of insight and foresight, which of course she did actually when she was became the Princess of Monaco. She actually built Monaco's first ballet house and opera house as well. So her energy brought a great. What we need to understand is before she married Prince Rainier, Monaco was seen as like a dusty outcrop, a relic, yeah, of a kingdom. Yeah, the other families, royal families, to be like, yeah, that tiny place. Because remember, it's minute as a country. They say Monaco is about as large as Hyde Park. Yeah, that's a park in London. That's how big Monaco is. I've actually recently been, and this is what inspired me as well. There's a documentary on the BBC, if you guys can get the BBC, and I think it's called Inside Monaco, something like that. And it looks at modern day Monaco now, and of course the Prince who's there. Oh God, his name has just escaped me. He's not. Oh my gosh, his name has just escaped me. Anyway, the current one. So this is Grace Kelly's son. And, he's doing a great job, running Monaco and all this kind of stuff. And there are pictures of her everywhere, as you can imagine. And he says, even now, people still come to Monaco to admire Grace Kelly and her legacy. And she has many powerful yogas in her chart for that, doing a great deal of good. And he says, even now, he can still feel his mother's spirit in Monaco. Isn't that wonderful? So she has this very, very powerful first house, which gives her, whenever you've got a lot of planets in the first house, or even any planet in the first house, can give a person a lot of magnetism, yeah? Let's not forget, she was exceptionally famous. When she got married, they called it the marriage of the century, yeah? So there was all of that going on. And Mercury and Venus do very well together. They're best friends. And it's in the sign of Libra in an angle, which also constitutes a Malavia yoga, yeah, which is one of the yogas of greatness, yeah. There are various different yogas, but the Malavia yoga is the Venusian one, and that's when Venus is in an angle. So 1, 4, 7, 10, houses 1, 4, 7, 10. And in her own signs of Libra or Taurus, or exaltation in Pisces. So look, we can see here, there's Venus in the first house, which is an angle and a trine, and it's in the sign of Libra. Yeah, Malavia Yoga, planet of greatness. And what it does is it gives a person a lot of eloquence, skill, grace, poise, a lot of learnedness, intelligence, the ability to make decisions that lead to higher fulfillment. Yeah, Venus is the decisions we make that lead to higher fulfillment. And of course, if you can consistently make good decisions that lead to higher fulfillment, you're probably going to end up what? Great, yeah? In some way. Even if a person's wicked, like I said, I've done Putin's chart. Putin has got a Malavia yoga as well, yeah? And I'm not saying that he's good. Yeah, not saying he's good, but he has reached a level of great prominence. Yeah, you cannot become the leader of a country that has the largest land mass in the world. Yeah, and I think it's like 7 time zones or something like that. Or, it's a lot. America is a huge country which stretches from continental Europe, where it's at the edge of continental Europe, all the way around to Alaska. Yeah, that's a lot. So this is how this yoga can bestow things. It's also diplomacy. Remember, Venus is the planet of diplomacy. So being able to negotiate with people. Also as well, Mercury, planet Mercury is the planet of acting. Yeah. So when you get Mercury and Venus together, it creates a very adaptable personality. Yeah. And of course, Grace was an actor. Yeah, she was an actor and she's got the sun in the first house. So she had this magnetism, this charisma. For all of her modesty, everyone knew that there was something great about Grace Kelly, and she just carried herself very well. So to show you just how powerful the Mahadasha sequence can be, let's get into that. And so you can just see how things happen. So I just put some key times. So I put the time in when she won her Oscar, when she met Prince Rainier, when she married him, and sadly when she tragically passed away. Yeah, from she had a car crash. Yeah, she died from a car crash, and we'll get into that. And there is something fascinating that emerges, and this is what goes to show, if you run the Dasha period, yeah, if you run the Dasha of a planet that is strong in your chart, yeah, and the Dasha just means the time sequence. If you run the Dasha of now we all know, like, you can run a bad Dasha and, you know, life can get a bit tough and all that kind of stuff. But my word, if you run a good Dasha and you're at the right age to be able to enjoy it, it can be sensational. Yeah, it can be sensational and it can just change your life. And I want to prove this for you. So if we look here, so like I said, she has got Venus, Mercury, Ketu, and the Sun in the first house. Now, remember I said Mercury, even though it's combust, it's still very strong. Yeah, it does very well in the sign of Libra. He's with his friend Venus, and his friend Venus is, you know, making a powerful Malavia yoga. Yeah, so this Mercury here is very strong. Yeah, and he gets Digbala in the first house. So Mercury is Digbala, Venus is Malavia yoga. Yeah, look at that. And they say when you've got two benefics, yeah, in the first house, in particular, it can be a sign of royalty. How fun is that? Yeah, so literally, she was born royal. She was manifest to have some kind of royal destiny. So we know Mercury is very powerful. Now, what I want to share with you guys is that, now remember as well, Grace Kelly became successful in the early 50s, yeah? She was working hard, so when she started to get recognition, let's see, she was in, let's look at the 50s, So if we look from the 25th of July, 1951, she was in Saturn Jupiter. Yeah, so she just come out of a long period. Saturn Mahadashas are always about hard work. Yeah, and they last for, Saturn's Dasha lasts for 19 years. Yeah, so she would have just been worked. And when you actually look at the documentary, she just worked and worked. She had very little money of her own at the start, but she was earning her own living. Yeah, that is so typical of Saturn Dasha. And what it was doing is it was building her backbone and preparing her for her master work. And they say when you're in Saturn Jupiter, that is the best part of the period, yeah, of the time period. And we can see it was in the early 50s that she started to get recognition. So she started to get recognition in her Saturn Jupiter period, yeah. But then after the Saturn Mahadasha comes the Mercury Mahadasha. So she went into her Mercury Mahadasha on the 4th of February, 1954. And look what happened in that time. In that time, she won an Oscar, yeah, for her role in the Country Girl. And she won that on the 25th of March 1954. That's when the Oscars happened. Remember, she went into her Mercury period on the 4th of February 1954, 4th of February 1954, and by the 25th of March, she'd won an Oscar. Look at that. Wow. Yeah. Because we also need to look, what does Mercury rule? Yeah. So for a Libra ascendant, Mercury rules the 12th house and it also rules the 9th house. Yeah. Because if we count here, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, Gemini, 10, 11, 12, Virgo. Yeah. So for all Libra ascendants, Mercury rules the 12th house and the 9th house. Now, the 9th house is a very, very powerful house. It's got a lot to do with luck and fortune, coming into one's manifest destiny. Yeah, that's the 9th house. Very powerful house. Any time you've got planets there in the D9 or the Navamsha, if you have them in the D1 or the Navamsha, any planet in any divisional chart in the 9th house is going to be strong. But in particular, those two, it means that planet has got a tremendous power there to give you a lot of luck, yeah, and good fortune. And if we look here, in her 9th house, she's got Pluto, yeah. So the 9th house is the house of the father. So it shows the father was very, very powerful in some way, and he was, yeah. He literally was like a workman. Who owned a factory, built his own mansion and all that kind of stuff, went on to become immensely successful. Remember, Pluto as well can deal with big wealth, yeah? Can deal with big debts, but big wealth. But it's the house of the father, yeah? So when that Mercury dasher became active, she had Pluto in her house of luck, which meant that she was going to get a life-changing dose of good fortune. Yeah, because the 9th house is the house of good fortune. Pluto is the planet of transformation, even though he has a bad reputation. But when Pluto works for you, Pluto can also represent once in a lifetime opportunities. Yeah, once in a lifetime. When Pluto's working for you and he gives you a gift, it will be a life-changing thing. Yeah, he's the planet of transformation. So when Mercury became active, because it was ruling the 12th house and the 9th house, it means that energy, yeah, because it rules that house, it means that energy, where's Mercury sitting? He's sitting in the 1st house. So it means the energy of the 12th house and the 1st house were concentrated in Grace Kelly, yeah, in her 1st house, her body. So she was going to have a personal, powerful transformation. So that's what happened. She won an Oscar. But guess what? The 9th house and the 12th house both deal with things overseas. Yeah? Foreign lands. The 9th house is a house of travel. So is the 12th house. Far and distant lands. And Mercury sits in her 1st house, Digbala, with his friend Venus. So we know that there was some manifest destiny that was going to come about where Grace Kelly was going to go to far and distant lands once her Mercury Mahadasha kicked in. And of course, that's one of the things that happened after filming. The Country Girl, she started filming on her next film, which was To Catch a Thief. Yeah, and that was filmed in the south of France. Yeah, and I've got a little story here. So this is how Grace Kelly met Prince Rainier. So I'll put here. This is according to Hello Monaco. Yeah, Hello Monaco, which should know. Yeah, and I checked some other things. It seems to all stack up. Anyway, so she met the prince while filming To Catch a Thief on the French Riviera in 1955. So remember that her Mercury dasher is active. She's won the Oscar, you know, in the year before, and now it's 1955 and she's still in Mercury. So Mercury's working powerfully for her to bring her good fortune in foreign lands. So she met the prince, like I said, while filming To Catch a Thief on the French Riviera in 1955. So what happened was Olivia de Havilland, of course, very famous actor. I think she may still be alive. If she is, she's at over 100 now. Yeah, wow. If she's still alive, I need to check. But when this article was written, which was in 2020, they said she was 103 at the time. Yeah, so wow. Anyway, so she was with her husband. So Olivia was newly married with her husband, who was Pierre Gallant at that time. We all know that she went on to marry, oh my God, the man, they call him Larry, Laurence Olivier. She went on to marry Laurence Olivier after he separated from, oh my goodness, I love this actress. What is she? Oh my God. She's just gone out of my head. Anyway, stunning. Vivian Lee. There we are. So she was on the train with her husband. So while they're on the train going down the Côte d'Azur, because they're on their way to Cannes, Grace Kelly appeared on the platform of Gare de Lyon station. And what they did, and she was invited to Cannes due to her role in The Country Girl. So of course, which she won the Oscar the year before. So Olivia de Havilland recognized her and invited her to lunch, to sit with her and her husband. And there was the idea to have Grace do a photo shoot at the palace in Monaco. Yeah. So this is how she met the prince. Yeah. Now remember, this is all still happening under the Mercury Mahadasha. Now, there were some little hiccups because she refused the original time arrangement for the prince because she had to go to a cocktail party that was being thrown by her studio, MGM Studios, who did, of course, the Country Girl, as far as I could see. But anyway, that was her. I don't know if she was on loan or whatever, but her company was MGM. Remember, this is in the 50s when they ran everything. Yeah, it was the studio system. So obviously she can't miss the cocktail party of her being thrown by MGM, particularly as she was the Oscar winner, just to go off with a prince. Yeah. So he had to move the time. Yeah. So she turns out apparently lots of stuff went wrong and she had a power cut and she couldn't wash her hair. She'd finished washing her hair and what she'd done is she just put some flowers in it because she couldn't dry it properly. Yeah. The hairdryer wasn't working, but obviously she's Grace Kelly. This is someone who would look good in a bin liner, covered in manure. Yeah. It's impossible not to look good when you're Grace Kelly. Anyways, so this happened. She met him. So he moved the time. Yeah. So that goes to show you. Yeah. He wasn't just like, so, whatever, this actress, I can't be asked. Let's do it on another day. He moved the time. He moved it backwards by an hour. Yeah. And so that shows you how could he not be smitten? Yeah, it's Grace Kelly. Yeah, so that shows you, like the impact. There was something he recognized about her. So anyway, they met on May the 6th in 1955. And let's just see here. And, he took her to the local family zoo, which was literally on the complex. I don't think it's there now. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Anyway, and then sort of like the rest is history. Then they met again at a cocktail party and they became pen friends and all that stuff. And it was a long correspondence. And then, of course, they were engaged to be married. So he met her on May the 6th, 1955. And then she went on, this is why she was still in the Mercury Mahadasha. Her Mercury Mahadasha period went from, like I said, the 4th of February 1954 to the 3rd of July 1956. Yeah? And she got married, according to Hello Monaco, on the 19th of April 1956. So she was just coming to the end of her Mercury Mahadasha period. But look at what had happened in that time. So let's just remind ourselves. Mercury here in the first house with his best friend Venus. Mercury is Digbala, which means it's got directional strength. It does extremely well in the first house. There's a lot of intelligence. And he's with his best friend Venus, who herself is very strong because she's in her own sign and creating a powerful Malavia yoga, which is like the yoga of royalty and greatness. Yeah. So, and he's also creating the energy, yeah, of overseas. Remember, the ninth house also deals with traveling overseas, deals with languages, foreign lands, foreign people. 12th house also deals with foreigners as well, yeah, but this is like crossing an ocean. She arrived by boat, yeah. When she came to Monaco, she arrived I think when they came back from America for her to go and stay in Monaco, they came by boats, yeah. So there was that theme there of water and all that kind of stuff. And then they were married, and it was called the marriage of the century. And when she actually got married, I've got the time here. So the day she got married, like I said, was the 19th of the 4th, 1956. According to Hello Monaco, on Wikipedia, they have it as the 18th of April. So, I'm going to go with Hello Monaco. They'll probably get it right, yeah? So there was that. And so she was still in that period. So from that Mercury, so from the 4th of February 1954 to the 3rd of July 1956, in that short window, she won an Oscar, met a prince, and got married to a prince and became a royal princess in that time. That goes to show you just how powerful Mahadasha sequences and yogas are in a chart. There is no equivalent for this in Western astrology. Yeah, this is why I'm so passionate about this stuff, because you can see it unfolding. And then what happened was she went into Mercury Ketu, which started on the 3rd of the 7th, 1956. Now remember, what is my nickname for Ketu? Yeah? Or no, snip, snip. So it meant when that Mahadasha, when Ketu got into the driving seat, she had to give up something personally. Why? Because if we go back, remember, look, Ketu is in the 1st house, yeah? So she had to sacrifice something, yeah? Ketu wanted to take something away in order to spiritualize her. And what did she do? Soon after she got married, she had to do what? She had to give up her acting career. Yeah, this was a woman who was on the up at her peak, the zenith. Yeah, she just won an Oscar. Who knows how many Oscars she could have went on to win? Yeah, but something had to give, so she sacrificed that. But what the Ketu did was, by her snipping, yeah, having that almost that kind of vasectomy to her acting career, it elevated her to an icon. Yeah. She is much beloved in Monaco, and they say when Princess Grace came, she resuscitated and revived Monaco, because she was an Oscar winner. She was beautiful. She was talented. All the young hip things wanted to be. And then not only was she an Oscar winner, she was now royal. Yeah. So all the rich and famous just began to flock to Monaco, and of course there was the casinos and all that stuff, and she revived things. She looked at the structure. Remember that moon in Aquarius? Aquarius deals with other people's children, the people, the collective. Yeah, so she applied her creativity and ingenuity to her new role as the princess, and totally revived and resuscitated Monaco. And now Monaco is one of the richest locations on Earth, to the extent that 1 in 3 people, residents in Monaco, are millionaires. Yeah, check out that documentary on the BBC. It is fascinating. She helped build that legacy, and it makes sense. Venus is what? The planet of wealth. Venus deals with vehicles of all kinds. Yeah, sadly, yeah, Venus deals with vehicles. But it also deals with boats, yachts. Yeah, they hold an annual yacht show at Monaco every year, and it's just massive. I was just watching this documentary. It's like, the wealth is astonishing. Yeah, Venus is what? Opulent wealth. Yeah, and this is why the Malavia yoga can make people exceptionally wealthy. Yeah, can make people, and especially when it falls in an angle. Yeah, because angles have power. So, of course, she ended up being exceptionally wealthy. She was a princess. She became royal. The principality just flourished under her guidance, yeah? But then we must also talk about, and all of this happened while she was in her Mercury Mahadasha. Ketu came along, like I said, did snip, snip, and then but she was elevated to an even higher status, yeah? Because they say the nodes of the moon give the results of the dispositor, which means that the dispositor is the natural ruler of that sign. And we can see here it's Venus, yeah? So Ketu is going to give the results of Venus. Venus is Malavia yoga, yeah? Malavia yoga, royal yoga, yeah? Royal yoga. So she was elevated to royalty, and it was just, there we are. But tragically, we all know how the story ends, and sadly she died of a car crash, yeah? In 1982, on the 14th of September, 1982. Now, I looked up that date, and let me just make sure that I've actually got it here as well in my software. Let's put 14th of the 9th. There we are, the 9th, 1982. Let's just click that bit there. I'd already done this before, 1982. There we are, but I'm just getting it just to see it now. So tragically, if we look here, Grace Kelly has got a planet in the 8th house, yeah? It's got a planet in the 8th house. Now, remember, the 8th house is the husband. So, look, that in many ways you could say is Rainier, yeah? Where does it go in the 9th? Oh, sorry, in the D9. Look at this. So, in the D9, in her chart of marriage, this being a slightly tricky position, once she got married, but look at that. Her Jupiter, the husband, is exalted. Yeah? What does she marry? She didn't just marry anyone. She married a prince and got a kingdom. Yeah? Whenever I see in a woman's chart, she's got Jupiter exalted in the sign of Cancer. Yeah? It gets exalted in the sign of Cancer. Somehow she's able to bag herself a partner, a spouse, a husband who's incredible. Yeah? Amazing in some kind of way. Because Jupiter becomes exalted. Yeah? And so we can see here. But look, there's a little fly in the ointment, because if we look here, Mars is debilitated. Yeah, I want you to remember that. Mars is debilitated in the sign of Cancer, but is also being helped out. And Neptune is there as well. So on the 14th of September, tragically, there was a car crash, but it wasn't just her that was there. Yeah. Now, what you need to remember, Jupiter in a woman's chart also represents children. Yeah, got to remember that. Jupiter also represents children. Here is Ceres, yeah, in the 8th house, which also represents children. Yeah, or it can even represent, even sometimes even like a child is abducted and they come back, or there's a separation in some way, or some kind of calamity can sometimes befall the child. Yeah. So here we've got Ceres in the 8th house. Now, I don't know if many of you know, but her kids were slightly wild children as well. They did dabble a bit. Let's put it that way. And there was one princess in particular, I forget her name now, that was, tricky. And this is one of the ones that she was driving with, because we also need to remember, so here we are. Jupiter, yeah, is in the 8th house of what? Sex, death, and rock and roll. The 8th house is what? Sudden shocks and surprises, scandals, accidents. So here's Jupiter in her natal chart with Ceres. But look at the sign. It's in the sign of Taurus. Taurus is a female sign. So we know there was a child there. A female child was involved in some kind of calamity. Yeah? Now, it is said that Princess Grace had a heart attack or a stroke, and that's what took them off the cliff. Yeah? Remember, the daughter survived. But it's also rumored that maybe they were arguing. Yeah? We don't know. We can't have this verified. It's a mystery, and of course, it's an incredibly painful one. This is not something you can just ask the princess. Were you arguing with your mum when she died, and you gave her a stroke, and then she was so upset you gave her a stroke, and then can you imagine? Yeah, can you imagine? But that's what the argument was, because the children have been a bit rebellious. Yeah. and they have been a bit rebellious. So we can see here. But what is really interesting, on the day, we had Jupiter, remember, which is sitting in the 8th house, by transit, was sitting in Grace Kelly's 1st house, yeah? So it means that Jupiter was carrying the energy of natal Jupiter in her 1st house, which is what? The body. And Jupiter in her natal chart sits in the 8th house. And that is in Taurus. And Taurus is considered an enemy sign, yeah, to Jupiter, because it belongs to Venus. And Venus and Jupiter are not friends. Even though they're both benefics, they're not friends, yeah? So Jupiter was in the 1st house. But guess what? So was Pluto, yeah? By the time here on the accident, she had Pluto in the 1st house, in the body, yeah? So that is quite something. Because remember, Pluto represents the 8th house on his own. So there were 2 8th house factors in Grace Kelly's 1st house when the accident happened. Also as well, and this is remarkable. This is remarkable. Now remember, Mars is debilitated in the sign of Cancer. And here's Mars, yeah, in the sign of Cancer, yeah, in the D9 chart, yeah. So there's a flaw there, yeah, there's a difficulty there, which shows, so I've got Mars debilitated in the 1st house, yeah. So that contributed to a lot of dramas in my early life, yeah. But in my 2nd half of life, my Mars is it's incredible, actually. It's very strong overall, my Mars, yeah. So it struggles in the 1st half of life, and then things get better. Here, her Mars is in Scorpio in the 1st half of her life, great 1st half of her life, but it shows Mars starts to become a problem planet as she gets older. Now, the thing is this, Mars deals with the blood, yeah? And Mars, I've just noticed something as well. Mars can also deal with things like strokes, yeah? Even heart attacks, stuff like that, because he deals with the blood, yeah? What's a stroke? A blood clot. Now, I've just noticed here, if we look here, here's Mars, and by his 4th aspect, he's looking at Libra, yeah? But where's Libra? In her main chart, it's the 1st house. So this debilitated Mars is looking at her 1st house in the Navamsha, which is the 2nd half of life, yeah? So I just noticed that little thing there as well. And transiting Mars, so her natal Mars was at 20 degrees 45 minutes, yeah? 20 degrees 45 minutes. Transiting Mars, yeah, I'm just going to draw it in. Transiting Mars was at this degree, and then 35. Transiting Mars was at 20 degrees 35 minutes. And that's according to UK time of 12, yeah? Of 12 p.m. I don't know when I think the accident happened in the afternoon. So it could well be at the time of the crash, Mars was it was exact. Anyway, I'll call this a perfection, yeah? Because it's within 1 degree. Yeah, that's a perfection. It could literally have been the case that when Mars moved another 10 minutes to 10 degrees 45 minutes, which it could do in a day, that could have been when, not even degrees, that could have been when the accident actually happened exactly. But she had that there. So look, natal chart, transiting Mars was right on top of her natal Mars. We know it's debilitated in the Navamsha chart, and and it's in the sign of Scorpio, which of course is 8th house related stuff. Yeah, the sign of Scorpio is the 8th sign. So there were three 8th house indicators happening. And not only that as well, what I forgot to draw in as well, let me just draw in as well. There is a certain very unpredictable planet That was at 7 degrees 31 minutes. Yeah. So that's within, you know, that's 5 degrees. And it was Uranus. There's Uranus. What's Uranus? Sudden shocks and surprises. Yeah. Uranus can deal with accidents, sudden things. If we look here in her natal chart, here, Uranus is in the 6th house. The 6th house deals with accidents. Yeah. It deals with enemies, accidents, emergencies, all that kind of stuff. Even like litigation, actually the actual litigation debts and stuff. It can also deal with health and various different things. It deals with health as well. So here we have, here Uranus is in the 6th house, but by natally, but by transit it's in the 2nd house. Yeah. So it's carrying some of that 6th house energy. But what's the 2nd house about? It's about family. Yeah, it's about family. What's Mars? Mars is conflict, arguments, accidents. Yeah. So it could have been, this is what I will speculate here. It looks like to me from Grace Kelly's chart, from that perfection, she was driving, yeah? In remember as what? Venus is what? Vehicles, yeah? Vehicles. And where was Venus by transit at this time? Where was Venus? Venus was in Leo. So Venus was with Leo, and it was at 14 degrees 30 minutes. 14 degrees 30 minutes. So it was here. Yeah. But look who it was transiting with. So it was in her natal chart. That's Neptune. Remember, Neptune is mysteries, yeah, secrets, yeah, things not being right. And look, she's got Venus here with transiting Venus with Neptune, yeah. She was coming into that window period. Remember as well, Venus rules the 1st house for Grace Kelly. So the chart house ruler, the one that is in charge of the body as well, was with Neptune, which we know is what? Deceptions, lies, deceit, but it can also be strange accidents, weird things that happen, fog. Something weird happened. And what I will speculate is this. And this is why this video is a private video, because you can imagine it would be something, you know, very difficult to say. Oh, and I've also just noticed something else as well. Mercury was at 22 degrees 41 minutes, and this is transiting Saturn was at 27 degrees 29 minutes. Guess where? In the 12th house. So the Lord of the 12th was in the 12th. The Lord of the 1st was with Neptune, yeah, which we know is a sketchy planet. Mars, which is debilitated in the D9, was exactly with Mars, and Mars deals with accidents, and was also there with Uranus as well, which sits in the 6th house of Grace Kelly's chart, which also deals with accidents. Yeah, the 12th house is what? Endings, loss. Yeah, so all those factors came together in a sudden and surprising accident. Yeah, because of that Martian influence. And that Uranian influence in a sudden accident. And you know what? I think they were arguing. And I think it was a very vociferous argument, yeah, because this is Mars on top of natal Mars in the 2nd house of family. And we can see that the daughter is in the car. Venus also represents vehicles. Mars is what? Energy, yeah? Action, something happening. So I think it could have been that they were having such a passionate argument, because I can't remember what the daughter wanted to do, but she wanted to do something which was, I think, considered controversial. Yeah. Because the daughter, I don't know if it was this daughter, but one of the daughters had a child with one of the palace guards. Yeah. That's not really something a princess should be getting up to, really. You know, the daughter of the princess was actually on this documentary getting a tattoo, yeah, getting a tattoo. And she said, my mum's got tattoos, so, she doesn't mind. So, we know there's some rebellion there, yeah, eighth house stuff. Prince Rainier, what's his name? Prince, never mind. I will put it up somewhere. But the point is, do you see how all those factors came together? And sadly, that brought an end to Grace Kelly's physical life, but her life lives on in Monaco as one of the great beauties of planet Earth, an Oscar winner, an actress, and eventually a royal princess that changed Monaco forever. So I'll leave it there. That's an hour. I don't want that to be too long. And I will see you on the next one. Thanks for the support, guys. All right. Cheers.